Today I'll be discussing whether Bitcoin is really worth $10,000 and compare it with other cryptos in the market. What I hope to accomplish with this video is to give an idea of where Bitcoin lies today and how its future may be in the crypto market. The crypto world, or digital currency world, is new and hence volatile. That's a given. However, one of the greatest tragedies I see in the crypto market is that emotion-driven behavior that decides how the prices change. Some people argue that the reason for this volatility of the Bitcoin price is the low market capitalization. And when I say low, I mean it's in billions, not trillions. While that's partially true, that's actually part of the story. The evidence of this is not very far from us. To find this evidence, let's recall. On November 8, 2017, the SegWit2x hard fork of Bitcoin was cancelled. Right after that, a rumor was spread that Bitcoin Cash is going to replace Bitcoin. This was the biggest display of FOMO, or fear of missing out, that the Bitcoin community has ever seen in its lifetime. If we study the price change over the few next days, we will see an almost perfect negative correlation or anti-correlation between the price of Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin Cash. If there is anything to learn from this, it's that the majority of people sold Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin Cash. Later after that, this was exactly reversed. The next thing to learn from this is that rumors control people very heavily in this market. Now, since we want to be rational and abandon emotions when doing trades, I made this video to discuss the real value of Bitcoin in the market. I'm going to do this by answering a few critical questions. The questions are the following. 1. Is Bitcoin really worth $10,000 or $100,000 or $1,000? What is its place in the market? Number 2. Are people holding Bitcoin because they believe in it as a technology? 3. Is Bitcoin the coin of the future based on its technology? 4. And finally, what should we do? Should we buy more or just sell off? Needless to say that what I'm saying here is not financial advice. Please do your research before making any decisions. Let's address these questions all together. The market cap of Bitcoin is now about $150 billion. If you're not familiar with the market capitalization concept, a market capitalization is simply the number of coins or shares of some asset multiplied by its unit value. So, if you go to coinmarketcap.com, you'll find that the market capitalization of Bitcoin is $150 billion, which you can calculate by multiplying the circulating supply with one single coin's price. The market capitalization is a good tool to compare the total value of some asset with others. If we compare Bitcoin's market cap with the other top 10 cryptocurrencies, we find that Bitcoin's market capitalization is about 10 times better than the other cryptos. The following will be a response to the people who will jump in and say that Bitcoin is an awesome peer-to-peer payment solution. For those, I'd like to compare Bitcoin as a technology with some other cryptos that Bitcoin believers call shitcoins sometimes, just because it doesn't go in line with their agendas. In the following, I'll be making a shallow comparison between Bitcoin and Ethereum. 1. The block time, which is the average time required to mine a block. For those who don't know what mining a block is basically the data structure that gathers submitted transactions to be part of the blockchain, which is the ledger of all transactions. This is done by the so-called miners, who are paid by the system for their work. This affects the speed of confirming transactions because every new block is considered a confirmation for every transaction that happened before. In Bitcoin, a block time is 10 minutes per block, while in Ethereum, It's no longer than a minute. Number 2. In Bitcoin, the fee is extremely high, like $7 per transaction, while in Ethereum, the fee is separate from Ether, which is the unit of Ethereum, and uses another unit called gas. This protects against price scaling, which is the problem with Bitcoin's high fee, because the fee in a Bitcoin transaction is a fraction of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin tomorrow is worth 10 times more, the fee will increase 10 times. Number 3. Bitcoin is absolutely not ASIC resistant. And if you're not familiar with this term, ASIC stands for Application Specific Integrated Circuit, which is specialized hardware for mining that beats regular computers and GPUs and hence defeats decentralization. The possibility of using ASICs simply means that it's easy to turn a coin into a business and give zero chance to regular people with regular computers to mine it. In the case of Bitcoin, this led to Bitcoin being centralized in China, with farms that have hundreds if not thousands of ASICs mining Bitcoin. There are tons of videos about them online. In the case of Ethereum, it's relatively ASIC resistant, but unfortunately some ASICs were made successfully to mine Ether, although it wasn't that easy. Number 4. The mining difficulty. To update the mining difficulty in Bitcoin, it takes 2 weeks. Yes, you heard that right. 2 weeks or 2016 blocks, which creates problems in many events. An example is the event of SegWit2x cancellation. At that time, many miners left Bitcoin to mine Bitcoin Cash because it was more profitable. Consequently, transactions took way too long because of this. In Ethereum, there is dynamic difficulty adjustment, and it doesn't take more than a few minutes to adjust difficulty. Number 5. Smart contracts. This may surprise you, but smart contracts exist in Bitcoin. However, they are awful with reverse polish notation that's very hard to use. In addition to this, the language is Turing incomplete, meaning that loops are not available. In Ethereum, smart contracts use Solidity language with Turing complete language, which is also intuitive. Number 6. Consensus mechanism. If you're not familiar with consensus, consensus signifies the mechanism by which it's decided what truth is to be accepted by all Bitcoin nodes. This is required when mining new blocks. Bitcoin requires mining with proof of work to reach distributed consensus among nodes, and this will never change, or at least there are no plans to change it. If you're wondering what proof of work is, proof of work means that miners use very high computational power and hence consume electricity to show their commitment to the system. Bitcoin also doesn't have 51% attack protection, which means that an authority with 51% computational power of the Bitcoin network can mess with the blockchain and potentially destroy Bitcoin. The chart you see now is basically the distribution of computational power that Bitcoin miners have. Many people believe that the top ones are simply a single organization that shows itself as split like this to avoid alarming the community and keep the value of Bitcoin high. Ethereum, on the other hand, requires now proof of work, just like Bitcoin. However, there are plans to change it to proof of stake with the Casper release, with 51% attack protection through stake loss. If you're wondering what proof of stake is, it's basically showing commitment to the system by raising an amount of Ether you have. If you try to mess with the system, that amount will be taken away from you. Number 7. Scalability. Bitcoin is not scalable, and it can take more than a few transactions per second. But also Ethereum is not scalable. But there's lots of work to make Ethereum scalable that should come with the Casper release. So after this comparison, who do you think is superior, Bitcoin or Ethereum? Let's not limit this to Ethereum. Let's talk about some other technologies. For example, we have IOTA, which I personally like, with zero fees and full scalability and proof of work spam protection. and soon smart contracts, but it is still under development. And also we have Monero and Electronium that are totally anonymous with ring signatures and is totally fungible, meaning that no one can blacklist any coins from them. And they use a memory very hard hashing algorithm to protect against ASICs that requires 2 MB of memory cache. Also another example is Neblio, which uses proof of stake and has 8 programming languages for its smart contracts. The final example is Ripple, which is kind of centralized but has 3.6 seconds average transaction time. Now Dash offers the same thing, but with a little more decentralization through masternodes. Now that's a topic for another day. All this is just the tip of the iceberg. Some new coins have more awesome features. So I would really love to ask, what the hell does Bitcoin offer compared to these? Well, it offers only one thing, the brand name, Bitcoin. It's all about being called Bitcoin. It just has the first mover advantage, and its community has been fighting every other coin. This is basically what Bitcoin Cash is fighting for. They want to drop the cash and become the new Bitcoin and have that power, which is fake and temporary anyway. This is also why we see lots of forks from Bitcoin. It's just because it's free money. Bitcoin Gold and Diamond and Wood and Plastic and all these ridiculous names. And all of these are reaping the benefits of the Bitcoin brand. But other than that, Bitcoin compared to other cryptos, it's just like the first automobile ever invented compared to other modern cars that we see nowadays. Now my question to you is, would you pay 20 times more for a 100-year-old car? Well, maybe you're a collector, but when this very old automobile has a market cap of 10 times more than everything else, then something is really, really wrong. And this is what I'm trying to say in this video. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Bitcoin is useless. When Bitcoin first came, it solved many technical problems. It was the first successful peer-to-peer money, but it's now obsolete. That's the point. It is obsolete. It is very old. Every other technology is better than it. And it's time for it to die, and it will die sooner or later. History will repeat itself. Brands and fuss never let a product live forever. Who are we kidding here? And again, sticking to it is just like sticking to the first automobile ever invented and ignoring newer cars. So this basically answers the question, is Bitcoin the crypto of the future? The answer is obviously no. The reasoning behind this is simple. What would make Bitcoin a coin of the future would be having it adopted by the masses as the mainstream cryptocurrency. But do you really imagine this happening after everything we talked about? Would a coin with a transaction fee of $7 qualify to become mainstream? You may try to defend Bitcoin by claiming that upgrades will come and make it better. If this is your argument, remember the massacre that happened for SegWit 2x and how the community split in half. Imagine this kind of splitting happening every year for every little upgrade, where the opposing parties care only for their own profit, and they do have the power. For example, miners have to agree to everything. It's probably against their interest to reduce their transaction fee. Why would they agree to that? So after all this, do you really think this is a healthy project that can develop? I don't see how this can happen, especially that Bitcoin is centralized in the sense that the computational power is coming mainly from China. If I were them, I'd do everything in my power to keep everything as is, and of course, manipulate the market to increase the price, since I would have millions of Bitcoins at my disposal. If you think this is the same with other cryptos, you're wrong, simply because other cryptos have learned from Bitcoin. Okay, let's come to the conclusion. Does this mean that you have to just go and sell everything off? No, this is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, Bitcoin is a bad investment for long term, and actually it doesn't make any sense. I never bought Bitcoin except as a channel to buy other cryptos. This is because most exchanges trade Bitcoin primarily for other cryptocurrencies, such as Bittrex. But I never held Bitcoin, and I made lots of money with the return of investment reaching 1000%. So I'm telling you what I think, and I provided the reasoning for it. I don't want you to just listen to anyone saying that Bitcoin will be $1 million in price. Many people out there are unethical, and they say this just to turn the greed switch in your brain and get you to buy Bitcoin under the feeling of fear of missing out, or FOMO, so that they could profit. Because when you buy more, the price will go higher, and they'll profit. Always, and I say always, question the motive. If you're a Bitcoin lover listening to this, please go ahead to the comments and tell me why the hell should anyone buy a 100-year-old automobile for the price of a Ferrari? Now that's my question to you. Don't get mad and explain it to me like I'm 5. So finally, the summary of this video is the following. 1. Bitcoin is a legacy technology and is not here for the future. 2. If you'd like to invest in Bitcoin for the long term, be prepared for the huge sell-off that will happen sooner or later. Another way to say this is, Bitcoin is a big bubble, but other cryptos are probably not in a bubble, because they have modern technologies that can keep them and become useful for the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. And if you don't like this video, please tell me in the comments why you think I'm wrong and why Bitcoin is better than every other technology I mentioned and why it should stay forever.